ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, I never get tired of that song. But I don't know why. You know what it is? Because it means we get to talk college football. The weekend is here. It's Friday. And welcome back to College Football Fridays. I'm Cole Thompson. First off, I'd like to apologize. I missed last week. I'm sorry. Listen, play lacrosse here in college. I have school. I have a job. I'm a busy guy. So I do what I can. And I'm bringing you this episode of College Football Fridays. And soon we're going to have college basketball. At some point, it'll be Fridays. But we're going to figure out up until then what we're going to do. But welcome back to College Football Fridays with Cole Thompson. And I'm excited. Obviously, last week, it's kind of good because I would have came on here. I would have talked all this shit about Penn State and how I think they're going to beat Ohio State. And they didn't. Disappointing performance offensively. Very, very disappointing performance offensively. They just did not show up. Could not move the ball much. Ohio State's defense, all credit to them. It was a great game. But overall, the season's not lost for Penn State. The season's definitely not lost for Penn State. Similar to how it's not lost for Oregon. I know Penn State kind of got their pants pulled down a little bit more than Oregon did, but I still have some hope, and it's going to end up shooting me in the ass when we lose to Michigan, and then the season will be over. But until then, I'm going to hold on to my linger of hope. I'm going to hold on to whatever I can to think the season's going to be successful, and it still can turn out to be. If not, oh well, I'm used to it at this point. But let's get right into it. Talked a little bit about last week. Penn State obviously did not show up. Disappointing performance on the offensive end. We talked about that a little bit. But let's get into some more games. Duke really had a chance to take down Florida State this past week, and they just couldn't get the job done. Florida State looked a little flat at times offensively. Duke's a very good team. Jordan Travis, I would like to see a little bit more out of him in the receivers. He was mixing it up a lot of different targets, but nobody really stood out receiving-wise. Their offense really, Duke's defense really gave it, especially early on in that game, really held strong against Florida State, but obviously Duke was not able to pull it out. Oregon gets the job done against Washington State in a game that was a lot closer than the scoreboard says, a little late cover, backdoor cover by Washington State. Alabama and Tennessee. Tennessee went up big on Alabama, up 27, and then just fell apart. Alabama scored 31 straight and was able to win by 18, I believe. Or, no, 11, sorry. They won 38-27. Or, 34-20. So, they scored 27 straight and there's just nothing that Tennessee had no answers for Alabama after that first quarter. So, it really brings up an interesting question on now where we're going to rank these teams and what's going to happen going forward. And we're going to get into that right now with my Week 9 power rankings. After this week, they officially turn into my college football playoff rankings as the college football playoff committee makes their first rankings on Halloween on Tuesday night. But let's get into it. First up, I already talked about this team a little bit. Number 10, I have the Oregon Ducks. Oregon obviously suffered their one loss to Washington. And you know what? I really do think after obviously USC's out of the picture, complete disaster defensively, they really just continue to hang Caleb Williams out to dry. Caleb Williams just probably is not going to ever beat Utah. Probably will never be able to beat Utah. Probably Utah will always be the thing that hangs over his head. The team that kept him out of the college football playoff last year, the team that cemented them missing the college football playoff this year. So Oregon back to Oregon. They are still in a very good spot. I really do think we're going to see them versus Washington again. I really think that's what I want to see. That's so bad. Just because I think Oregon is probably really the only team I think that can beat Washington at this point in the Pac-12. Utah obviously going up against them this week can be a very, very tough game for Oregon. They're really going to have to dig deep to pull that one out. They're going to have to slow down that Utah offense that looked explosive on Saturday against Washington. Spread currently sits at plus 6.5. I probably am going to take the points with Utah there, but nonetheless, Utah definitely – it's going to be a very tough matchup for Oregon because Utah just finds a way to stay in games. That offense can be very, very good no matter who they have at quarterback. I know they've been rolling with Bryce Johnson a lot recently, so that's who has been under center for Utah over the last few weeks. But, there's just so many questions about them at this point. Or, I'm sorry. No, what? Okay, never mind. For some reason, I thought Cam Ward was back, but he's not. I don't think he's going to play at all this year. But yeah, it's Bryson Barnes. I'm sorry, Bryson Barnes is the quarterback. I don't know why I said Bryce Johnson. Bryson Barnes is their quarterback. But yeah, we've seen a couple different guys in there. Yeah, but so Oregon's going to really – the biggest thing is their defense is going to have to show up, and their defense has showed up a lot this season. They showed up against Colorado. They had their moments against arguably the Heisman frontrunner in Michael Penix Jr. when they took on Washington. But Oregon just has to take care of business the rest of the way, and I really think outside – I mean, who do they have left after this week? Let's check who they have left after this week. They have obviously Utah this week, and then – I'm having a hard time finding Oregon's schedule for some reason. Okay, there it is. So, yeah, Utah this week, and then they match up against Cal, and then USC, listen, and then they have Oregon State. So it's not smooth sailing for Oregon at all. They have 3 very tough games coming up, but if they can get through those with only 1 loss, I mean, either way, I still think we're going to see them versus Washington, but if they can still get through those with only 1 loss, they're going to be right back in that college football playoff mix. They're still hanging around. These 10 teams all are still alive. So, yeah, they're just going to have to get through that without losing a game. They're going to have to go undefeated the rest of the way, and they're going to have to be Washington in the conference championship to make the playoff. I mean, college football playoff is pretty simple, usually narrows itself down. But so, number 10, I have the Oregon Ducks. Number 9, I have the Penn State Nittany Lions. I had them at number 4, dropping all the way down to number 9 after that loss just because everybody in front of them took care of business. I still think that that loss to Ohio State, I think, is a better loss than losing to Washington, which is one of the only teams that really you can say that about. But, yeah, Penn State defensively looked great for 3.5 quarters of the game. Offensively, couldn't get the job done. You know, it really, when you have a defensive touchdown that gets taken off the board, it's tough to come back from that. Especially when your offense isn't playing well. Maybe if that would have stood, we're talking about a different ball game, a lot less pressure riding on Drew Allard, but it just felt like the entire time Ohio State controlled the flow when Penn State had the ball. They really suffocated Penn State. Yeah, they had a hard time getting the ball over midfield in a first down, much less able to put points on the board. But, so they got a bounce-back game against Indiana, who they're going to murder this week, I think. I think they walk through Indiana. But other than that, if they don't take care of business against Michigan, their season's probably going to amount to what it usually is. They'll probably end up being the conference champion representative. I don't know if it's a Rose Bowl this year or not. Playing in a New Year's Six Bowl and going to win. But Indiana, Maryland cannot look over Maryland, but they should take care of business the next 2 weeks. And then it lines up for November 11th when they match up against Michigan for who's going to end up probably representing. Or could be representing. It's still a mess because they have the divisions. If they didn't have the divisions, I feel much better about their playoff chances. But they're going to just have to have the 3-way tiebreaker go their way. That's the only way Penn State's going to find their way in the conference championships. The 3-way tiebreaker goes their way. So they're going to have to beat Michigan, and then Michigan's going to have to beat Ohio State for the 3rd year in a row. And I don't know what the parameters are. Let's look into this. What the parameters are for that situation. Conference or Big Ten 3-way tiebreaker. That's the best way, I guess, we'll look at it. So that's ultimately, it really does put strain on if 3 teams are tied, steps 1 through 8. 1, 3 records. Okay, split. All right, step 2. The records are 3 or more teams compared to based off the winning percentage in their division. They're going to have it's tied. The records of 3 or more teams compared to the highest placed team in their division. Yes, so if they lost to each other against all common conference opponents, again, undefeated, the record of teams compared to their best cumulative conference win percentage of so East teams' opponents are 20-7. I believe it would go to Ohio State. I believe if there's a 3-way tie, it goes to Ohio State. So tough luck for Penn State. Because of that Notre Dame. Yeah, and Pitt. It probably goes to Ohio State. I would have to go through the entire math right now. But more than likely, Ohio State's going to have to drop 2 games. So more than likely, Penn State will not be in the conference championship this season. Next up, we're going to switch over to number 8, Alabama. And listen, Alabama has really bounced back after that loss to Texas. They've had some scares in games I thought they were going to lose. I really thought who was it? Oh, USF. USF a few weeks ago was going to give them a loss, but they were able to avoid the danger there. And now they sit and they're still definitely in this race to make the college football playoff. I mean, they're Alabama. It's looking like they're going to match up with Georgia. I mean, still a couple of tough games left they have to play, but they get through Tennessee. And the good thing is they get all those tough games at home the rest of the way. LSU next week, it's going to be make or break. If they get through LSU, they should be walking to the conference championship where they will match up with Georgia and a chance to make the college football playoff. It's really going to come down to that. We could see 2 SEC teams this year again. We could see Alabama and Georgia make it depending on what happens. But right now, I would say Alabama probably doesn't get in. I would still say Georgia beats them in the conference championship. Right now, I would say it's going to end up being. We'll get into that. We'll get into what my projections here. I have a segment for that now. I added a new segment. So, yeah. So I think Alabama really. What the biggest thing is, Milroe has really come into his own at the quarterback position. He's really started to excel offensively ever since that USF game. 24, 40, 26, 24, 34. Against some good defense. I know they had a little scare against Arkansas. I guess it was a little backdoor cover scare. I mean, A&M gave them some trouble. They've been given problems, but they've come through with them. They're probably going to roll through LSU. I really do think they bounce back this year against LSU. They take care of business against Kentucky. Chattanooga, I'm not even worried about. And then Auburn, always a dangerous game, seeing how big the rivalry is. But, yeah, they're definitely in a good position going the rest of the way. But as long as Jalen Milroe continues to play well, I think Alabama will find themselves in that conference championship, and that's whatever happens against Georgia. So next up at number 7, I have the Texas Longhorns. Again, a team that's kind of had some up and down moments throughout the season. They've had some scares at times, but, has kind of mended their storms throughout. Obviously, the loss to Oklahoma definitely hurts. A bounce back against Houston, a team that really held them up against the ropes and made that game a dogfight. But they get BYU and then Kansas State. Not easy games, but not necessarily tough games. Right now, they're currently sitting 4th, but they still have to play Iowa State. They still have to play Oklahoma. Or they don't play Oklahoma State, but they still have to play Iowa State. So it'll all figure itself out. If Texas wins out the rest of the way, they will find themselves in the conference championship, matching up with probably Oklahoma, who remains undefeated in the conference and undefeated on the year. And we'll talk about Oklahoma here. They're my number 6. We're due. We're due for that rematch. We are due for that rematch. And that's the best part about these no divisions that I love so much is you don't really see, like, you're going to see a lot more rematches of these big bad teams. Like, we could be next year, once we get rid of divisions in the Big Ten, we could be seeing the Ohio State Michigan conference championship every year, or Ohio State Penn State rematches every year. We're going to see these Oklahoma. I know they have always had it, but we're going to see the Washington Oregon rematch potentially, a game we all want to see. As long as these conferences continue to drop these stupid the divisional for conference championships, the divisions for conferences only matter for scheduling, really. I only like it for scheduling. I don't like it for necessarily who plays in conference championships. I think it's kind of stupid, actually. Hold on. Mike's messed up a little bit. There we go. I really don't like it. I think it's kind of stupid. I think it's much better this way, having it the way they that the Pac-12 and the Big 12 have it. No divisions. I think that's the best way to do it. It truly gets the top 2 teams from each conference to the conference championship, which is what I want to see, what I want to see every single season. So I'm praying on that Oklahoma-Texas rematch. It was a phenomenal game, a phenomenal performance by both teams. Nonetheless, I think Texas probably gets their revenge. What's going to happen with Quinn Ewers now? I know he's out. So I don't know. Who's playing quarterback for Texas? I want to say for Texas this week. I want to say it's okay. It's all right. It's Malachi Murphy. Got it. Because I think Arch Manning is gonna redshirt, I assume. So it's gonna be Malachi Murphy. So yeah. So really, I mean, what is Murphy gonna be able to do now for Texas? Is he gonna be able to lead the way? Because I mean, they don't have room for hiccup. I mean, BYU's not it's a team you should get through. Kansas State's not a scrub team. At TCU is not necessarily easy. I had high hopes for Texas Tech this year. So what are they gonna be able to do now against these other upper echelon conference teams? I know Texas Tech maybe not. TCU is having a rough season. BYU's not a world beater, but these are teams that can take care of business against you. So Texas has some things they got to worry about. They got to mend their fences here over the next couple weeks and get through this tough patch. So hey, Texas and Oklahoma, 7 Texas, 6 Oklahoma. And number 5 is the other half of that Pac-12 rematch we want to see. Washington, again, been taking care of business, remaining undefeated, has a clear path to the college football playoff at this point in the season. Obviously, with the how loaded that conference is, it's hard. They still, it's so hard to tell with the Pac-12. They're still, they get Stanford, but then they have USC and then Utah and then Oregon State and then Washington State. And again, so yeah, they get through Stanford, but they have a gauntlet to end the season that they have to get through. So it's really, the Pac-12 is so much up in the air. They could just eat each other alive and none of them find their way in the CFP. This could be the year we see the 2 Big Ten, 2 SEC like we've always wanted to see. It's mayhem right now. It is definitely mayhem. So, hey, the Big 12 could get a team in there. I honestly think we could see it. I really do think we could see the two SEC or 2 Big Ten. I really didn't think so at the beginning of the year, but or not. The ACC is going to get one. Big 12 is going to get one. One of the Big 12. Is the Pac-12 the odd man out? Like, one of these teams is going to have to miss. Is it the Pac-12? Is it the Big 12? I don't know. It's probably the Big 12. The Big 12 is probably the one that gets left at the altar. I never really thought of it like that till now. I always thought it played itself out, but the best, like the Pac-12, they don't eat themselves alive. If one team just prevails through, you got to put them in. If Washington prevails through, you got to put them in. Big Ten's probably only going to get one. SEC's probably only going to get one. Florida State, they could very well walk their way into the playoff undefeated. You're not going to leave them out. So, there's a lot of question marks. College football is so open this year. It's so wide open, and it leaves so much to desire that you don't know what's going to happen each week. So what's going to happen now with Washington? I think, 5's a good spot for them for now, but who knows what's going to happen. They have the gauntlet to end the year. Michigan at number 4. It comes down to beating Penn State and beating Ohio State, and they're going to find themselves in. There's not much to talk about with Michigan. Defense obviously played great against Michigan State. There's a lot to talk about with Michigan right now. The whole cheating scandal, I want to let it play out before I give my opinion because I want to see more details. I'm sure there's stuff we're not hearing about. Before I give my honest opinion on the Michigan thing, I want to let everything play out. I want to see all the cards unfold before we know for sure because it's a hairy line. They're right teetering on the line. Like it's a mess. It's all just a giant mess. Michigan though, they got Penn State, they got Ohio State. After that, it's pretty much Michigan. They've just been bulldozing through teams because of their defense. Their defense has been lights out. So they bulldozed through Michigan State. They have Purdue. Come on now. They have a bye week, then Purdue. And then it's Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State. They're 3 toughest games of the season, in my opinion. So what's Michigan going to do up to that point is really going to like, as long as Michigan doesn't get upset by Purdue or doesn't get upset by Maryland, they can maybe afford a drop to Penn State or Ohio State. I know Penn State's at home this year or on the road this year. That's not an easy place to play. And then you got Ohio State on the road. So, hey, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. All right, you have Ohio State at home. So we'll have to see what happens with that whole mess there. At number 3, I have Florida State. Except a little bit. Dodds a bullet from Duke. Holding strong at 3. Still, again, a lot to figure out on what's going to happen in this top 10. In this top 10, any of these 10 teams could find their way in. I think they're all very much alive. Number 2, Georgia. Bro, it's Tennessee or bust for them. Like, it's again, Tennessee's the only team. Like, Georgia and Michigan, just their schedule just is so easy compared to these other schools. Like, I know they play, Michigan has 2 games they have to worry about. I guess they have Mississippi, or did they already play Mississippi? Hold on. No, I don't care about what happened against. No, they have Mississippi coming up. So, Ole Miss, actually, never mind. Georgia's got I forgot Missouri's good. Ole Miss is good. So, Georgia's got a little bit of a gauntlet after this bye. Holy God, Florida, Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee. Georgia's not safe. Georgia's going to really have to earn that spot. And if they get through this strong, undefeated, they're going to take that number 1 spot back from Ohio State. I know I put Ohio State at 1. It hurt, but they beat Notre Dame. They beat Penn State. They've really caused a lot of chaos for Penn State's offense. Ohio State's been the best team in the country so far this year. Pains me to say. Pains me. You're welcome, Gabby. You're welcome. Pains me to say, but Ohio State's the number 1 team in the country right now. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. There's nothing we can argue about there. So let's switch over. Let's talk about some of my college football playoff best bets on the season. I've been trying to share my screen. Yes. Hold on. Entire screen. Allow, yeah. Okay, this is a godforsaken mess. Hold on. I'm trying to figure something out here. Let's just do this. There we go. Got it. Okay, where is the rest of it? Okay, I think I got it now. Now I need to find the rest of the screen. Okay, sweet. Got it. Cool beans. All right. Yeah, so let's look through some of these lines real quick. So Georgia opens up, or we'll scroll to the top. My best bet of the week, honestly, is tonight. I have the over 44.5 at minus 115. I think I put a unit and a half on. I've been betting smaller just because I've been kind of getting beat up because the Phillies blew it. So I've been getting beat up a little bit. So this is my best bet of the week. Both these teams have good offenses and good defenses, but I think both these teams' offenses excel. You see this a lot in these Thursday, Friday night games. These defenses are really gassed, and these offenses burst for a lot of points. So I like the over in that game. Another bet I liked Florida State minus 20.5, bounce back opportunity. Wake Forest sucks. They're going to blow right through them. Penn State minus 31.5. Again, similar situation. There's another one I really liked. I don't even know where to go. Notre Dame Pitt plus 20.5. I think they keep it a little bit closer than that. I love Florida plus 14.5. I think they really are going to give Georgia's offense a lot of trouble this week. I really do think Florida's going to give Georgia's offense a lot of trouble this week. So I really like Florida to cover the points here. I think Graham Mertz can keep it close. I'm talking like 21-10, something like that. I think they can hold their Georgia's offense in check a little bit. They're going to have a hard time scoring points, though. Maybe the under is the play here. I kind of like the under looking at that number. It sticks out to me a little bit, so give me that under. I love Texas minus 20.5. Bounce back. They've lost and struggled. Malachi Murphy is going to come out. It should be a lot lower, and they're going to really show people how Texas football is actually back. And I think this is a statement win for Texas to put their hats back in it. I already said I like the plus 6.5 here with Utah. They've got the job done. Before against teams, I don't think they win, but I think it's like a 28-24 game, a lot closer than people think. I like Louisville minus 6.5. I really think that offense is going to explode. Who knows what's going to happen with Riley Leonard? I think this offense explodes. And is Louisville still? I don't think Louisville's undefeated, but I think this offense explodes and gets the job done this week against Duke. So I really didn't get to look into college football this much this week. I've been super busy. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I saw that stuck out to me. I tried to look at it a little bit, but it's kind of we're in a little bit of a dead week here this week in college football. So it's hard. It's hard to see what's going to happen this week. We're going to have a lot of answers, though. A lot of questions will be answered this week in college football. There is every week. And I'm sure somebody's going to get upset. You're just like, whoa, that wasn't on my radar. Didn't expect that, but we'll see what happens. But thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of College Football Fridays. We'll be back next week. I have nothing on schedule. No games, no practices, nothing. So we'll be back next week. College basketball rolling out too, which is my real sport, the sport that I know the most about, and I'm the best at talking about. But thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week.